Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. You know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about nutrition and the Bible. My guest today is Rose Fancy, and we're talking about her book, An Issue of Blood. So go get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Rose Fancy. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being a guest today. Now, I cannot wait to talk to you about your book, but as is tradition around here, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to those few folks out there that may not be familiar with your work or with who you are. So first question, Rose, is what makes you you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am. I have been. I have been Christian all my life, and I attend church, and I just love the Lord, and He has just blessed me in every way that is possible, and I just love to. I love writing too, and so this book was one of the inspirations that God gave me to just help other people.
I can definitely understand that. I love how God has a plan for our lives, even when we're uncertain or we believe that we were supposed to go to the corner and make a left, and God goes, you were supposed to go right, but don't worry, I'll still get you over there. So I love how He is able to do that. Now, speaking of pointing us in the right direction, author. Is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that life presented an opportunity and you said yes?
That is true, because I didn't even dream of being an author. I was always, I always I write, but not, I would not write anything long or anything like that. So it was just because of this journey I went on, and trying to inspire other people that you too can find healing through nutrition. And I said, why not? And I went ahead and I did it. So, as for all the people out there who think that, you cannot do it, God just provides the inspiration, and He helps you through these difficult times. And one of the ways I was able to, just to inspire other people is to just write this book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that answer. Now, the title of your book, An Issue of Blood, why was that the appropriate word choice to entitle your book?
Well, after I had gone through this journey, I was just amazed and astonished, and I said, what can I compare it to? And the only thing in the Bible that I could compare it to was the issue of blood, because I said to myself, if this lady had if this lady had the problem that I have, I would have found God, and I would have touched the hem of His garment also. And so, it was just the only thing I could compare my journey to. And so I found inspiration in that. And so that's why I came up with this idea of an issue of blood.
I really like that. Now, as far as the ideal reader is concerned, I know that many authors will think about an age range or a particular um, demographic that might work best. Like this is for a female reader or a male reader or someone who's a caretaker, that type of thing. Who would be the ideal reader? Is there any particular age group? Do you have to be a person who has been a Christian for a long time in order to understand your book? Tell us about that.
No, it's just about people who have been through a problem in life, or having a medical problem, and just trying to get through that problem. And so it spans everybody, because you have young people who are trying to get over problems in life, with medical issues, and there are older people who are trying to get through problems. There are men who are trying to get through problems, and women who are trying to so it covers everybody, because nutrition is so important. And this is what the journey showed me, that when you have a medical problem, you could try nutrition. And the Bible, when I went through, the Bible explains this so easily. It's like it breaks it down into different areas, and you realize that, my God, it's all in the Bible. Because when I was having the problem, I and came through it, I realized, oh, this is all in the Bible. Because, for example, the Bible talk about um, in Genesis, it speaks about the God making man and woman and putting them in the Garden of Eden. And that is what nutrition is all about. We are eating straight from fruits, vegetables, meat, all straight from the garden. And the Bible just inspires you to go ahead and just eat properly. And if you are not, careful, you would glance over this and say, oh, it's just about the, God, the original sin and stuff like that. But it's also talking about nutrition. And as I go through, right throughout the Bible, it gives you hints about nutrition and, being healthy. And that's it's all there in the Bible.
I have to agree with you. I've heard people, and I don't think that people talk about it as much today as they used to. But you would hear people saying, "Well, I want to go on a Daniel fast," or they would give reference to scripture and say, "This is what I'm trying to do." Nowadays, there are so many different diets out there, fads and trends type of diets that people want to try everything, but you, however, are really giving us knowledge, because scripture does instruct us on what we should and should not eat, and how we should do that. So you are so right. I know, as a little kid, when I discovered those passages, and it's like, wait a minute, so we should eat meat that has this but not that, or it can come out of the ocean but it can't be this or that. Okay, who knew? So it was quite interesting to discover whether or not shrimp was on the eat or do not eat list. So that is quite an eye opener. When it came to putting your book together, the actual process of writing out the information and presenting it in a way that the consumer would be able to take it all in and utilize it. What was that process like for you? How did you determine what you wanted to include, or what you said, well, this might be too much, let's not go too deep into that? How did you make those types of decisions?
The first thing if you read my book, is that the first thing I tell you about my journey. And it was interesting to look at it and say, okay, what should I include? I don't want to be the first thing. I don't want to be to make people mad, or just I wanted to give the information, and I wanted to give it in a wholesome way that anybody can read it. And also I wanted to present it that a way that the young can read it, the old can read it, and can understand. Also, what I found out too is that what can I, after going through this whole journey, how can I show people that there's a different way. I wanted to give or another information, because, for example, some people talk about the Daniel fast, and they have where everybody is supposed to be eating a vegetarian diet, but the Bible shows you in Daniel that Daniel ate a vegetarian diet, but the king was eating what I would call a meatarian diet, or a lot of meat. So, the Bible is telling you that there are two different types of diets that are out there. Some people can eat vegetarian, and some people are born to eat just meat alone. So Daniel didn't say, okay, king, you are supposed to be eating a vegetarian diet only. Daniel said, okay, I'm a vegetarian, and I acknowledge that you love eating meat. So, it is just interesting in that sense. Also, so I wanted to incorporate that information in there, because I had a friend who I was telling her about the vegetarian diet, and she was saying to me, you know what happened? I can't eat the vegetables. I can only eat meat. And I said, okay. Then it dawned on me that, yes, there are people who can eat vegetarian, but there are also people who can eat meat and need to eat meat. Also, look at it. In the Bible, there are the lion. The lion eat meat. And then you have the elephant and the giraffe that eat vegetables. So there are two different strains of diets that is there, the vegetarian diet and the meatarian diet. And we have to realize that it's one of these things that you have to recognize, that some people are born vegetarian and some people are born to just eat meat. So it's not really a fad. Oh, I'm going to eat meat today, or I'm going to eat vegetarian today. It's just that you were born that way. It's just like you're born tall or you're born,
And thank you for presenting it that way, because I'm sure there's someone who's saying, yeah, I am vegetarian. I just am. I don't have a particular political view about it, because I do know that for some people, being vegetarian is a lifestyle choice. For some, it is a political choice, so to speak, like because they don't want to do harm to animals or things like that. So, but there are some people, you're right, that just say, you know what, this is just how I eat, this is how I'm comfortable, and I've always eaten this way. And it is almost an unconscious decision for them. It wasn't forced upon them, they didn't choose it. It just is how they are. So I love that. Thank you for that clarification. Well, Rose, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay, my book is An Issue of Blood, and you can get it on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And my website is Fancy Nutrition Spectrum at Weebly.com.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on the show? I want to enlighten you, inspire you, and empower you. And I think my guest does as well. I am talking with Rose Fancy today about her book, An Issue of Blood. Now, Rose, my next question for you is you talk about endometriosis. Now, I'm familiar with that, but we may have some younger people out there that may have never heard of that, or perhaps even some of the male listeners are unfamiliar with that term. Can you tell us what is endometriosis and why was it important to include in your book?
Okay, endometriosis is a disease where when you have your monthly cycle as a woman, there's a lot of pain. And what happens is that sometimes this pain is so bad that you have to go to the hospital to get, over it. And for me, that's how I started out in life, with all this pain. And then after I had a child, the pain got worse. And I was in so much pain that first of all, it was just like a monthly cycle pain. And then after that, it just started to get worse and worse. And so every day I was in this terrible, terrible pain. And so, it's one of those things that some women go through. And I know some people are in pain all the time. And I can understand that. So, during this journey, I visited doctors and got treatment, but it got worse and worse. And so the doctor ended up suggesting I do a surgery. And also another doctor, he was a holistic doctor, he suggested that I go on a vegetarian diet to get over this pain. And so I wanted to do it quickly and easily. And so I said, okay, let me go and do the surgery. And, I went ahead and did the surgery, and it was fine for, a year. And then after that, the pain came roaring back. And so I realized that I had to go on a vegetarian diet to get over this pain. And, a friend, sent me a note and, a magazine, I should say. And in the magazine, they were talking about vegetarian diet for endometriosis, to overcome endometriosis. And I said, what happened? I'm going to get on this diet. And the same day I went and bought some vegetables and I just started eating. And it was like a miracle. The pain went away. I was able to get up and work as if I was just totally okay. First time I was in bed all the time because of this pain. I could not work. At least I worked, but I was in so much pain. So when I got home, I was just laying down in bed. But when I started eating the vegetarian diet, it just worked. Within minutes, I was able to get up and start working. And I think, it is just important that, people out there become aware that, a change of diet may help you with pain. And so, this is something that inspired me to write this book. And I just wanted everybody to, find out how you can overcome this endometriosis pain.
You are so right, Rose, because I have family members who were suffering from arthritis, and their doctors wanted to give them medication to help deal with it. And that's fine. I understand that, our MDs are very, very important to us. Not knocking them in any way, shape, or form. But I'm also a very holistic type of person, and if there's a homeopathic way, a naturopath doctor that I could talk to, that can give some suggestions, let's try that as well. And you are so right. They stopped eating certain foods. And by not consuming those foods anymore, the irritation was no longer there, the inflammation was no longer there, and the arthritis subsided. So you are absolutely correct in that food does have an effect on who we are. The same way that I deal with migraines and using peppermint oil as a very natural way of dealing with it and getting relief. You are on to something, and thank you so much for sharing that. Now, in changing your diet, did you find that it was difficult to stop eating some of those foods that you really enjoyed but were not serving, they were not serving your body properly? Did you find it difficult to give up those foods, or were you able to say, listen, the gains that I will achieve is worth not having the foods any longer?
Yes, it was very difficult for me because the first thing I had to realize is that I have to accept that I am a vegetarian. That was the hardest thing to accept, that I'm a vegetarian. And after I accepted it, then I started to change. But during the time of trying to focus on changing my diet, I found that prayer really helped. I had to. It was just prayer that helped me to overcome all of that, difficulty in changing my diet. And I remember that I spoke with a friend and was say, ask God to just take that taste out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And, this is what helped.
Absolutely. And, I have heard other people pray that prayer. So just in case someone thinks like, what? I cannot believe that's all the prayer was. This is not the first time that I have heard someone say that. Other people have also said that when it came to smoking cigarettes, that type of verbiage that you use there is like, take this taste away from me. I no longer want this. And they too said, that's it. Stopped cold turkey. I gave it to God, and He took the desire for me to smoke away, that need to have that flavor or that taste in my mouth. Didn't want it anymore. So, I do think that when we pray and we are true, we are earnest in that prayer, it happens. And I don't know why people think that we can pray for someone to have safe passage. We can pray that God will heal us from any other thing. But when it comes to food or, something that's as simple as that is, I don't know if God's going to do that. So you're definitely challenging someone today to think outside of the box and to say that God is more than able to handle this as well. So thank you for that. Now, there's going to be someone out there that says, well, if you're not eating meat, you're not getting all of your protein. You're not getting all of the things that you are going to need to have a healthy body and a healthy mind. So what are some of the nutritional changes that you found that you were able to make and still get all of your requirements. Like, I don't think people understand that you can get protein from almonds, or that, you know, there are other fruits and vegetables that you can consume, though you may consume them differently. They still have a balance there. How do you talk about that?
You know what happened? I felt the same way when I was changing my diet. I felt the same way. But you know what? It When you start eating properly, it works. And what I find is that there's a difference between vegetarian and a vegan diet. A vegan eats only vegetables. I am a vegetarian. In a vegetarian diet, you eat a small percentage of meat. You have to, because what happens is that if you don't eat it, your teeth start to fall out. So you have to be careful. So what I eat 1 egg per day, or meat equivalent to 1 egg per day. So I eat a small portion of meat, and the rest is all vegetables. And let me tell you something. I know that people out there, just like me, doubted that this can work. They will doubt it, but if you try it, it will work. And that's what I had to do. I had to say, okay, Lord, this pain is so bad that I will do anything to get rid of this pain. And so what I did is that changing my diet just came naturally. And there are other things that causes pain, not only going into vegetarian, but also oily food. One of the things that I had to change is that, yes, I was eating vegetarian, but I was eating a lot of fried food. And I found that the oil was causing part of the pain. So I had to stop eating oil. I boil my food now. And so that was one of the problems. Another of the problems that I found was that in overcoming pain is that I was eating too much processed foods. And so what I started to do is to plant a little garden, just my little garden of Eden in the back of my yard. And so I started eating the fresh fruits from there. I also buy a lot of fruits from the farmer. And what I do is that I eat a lot of vegetables, and also a lot of peas, beans. I eat green beans, and also, black beans, and all sorts of beans. And you know what happened? I just love it now. I couldn't imagine myself eating so much meat again. I just love what I'm eating now. And I can see the difference.
Absolutely. I giggled because it makes a world of difference. And especially when you said a garden. I planted a garden, and it is amazing the difference that it makes to be able to go outside and get your own fresh arugula, to go your fresh lettuce, whatever type of lettuce you decide to plant. Or like you said, with the green beans, to pull that green bean off of the vine myself, and to be able to then go and steam it and eat it for lunch. It was a beautiful thing. There was a connection, and there's a and not to try to put too much extra on it, but it was a sense of freedom almost. Like you felt like this is proper and true. Like, this is how I am supposed to eat this. there's no pesticides here. There's no nothing that's going to get in my body and mess me up. So I definitely understand what you are talking about there. Thank you for making me remember that. I loved that so much. So you're right. We do need to make that connection between what we're eating, how our body is feeling, which brings me to the next question, and that is, some people will say that when they change their diet, that they experience a version of brain fog, that they're not able to concentrate, or they're not able to think as clearly. They're not as sharp as they were when they had, 2 cups of coffee and a burger for lunch. How did you deal with those types of transitions as your body was starting to detox from the buildup of the bad stuff and transitioning to this new body of yours?
Yeah, it was hard. I can tell you it was very hard. Trying to, realizing that you have to eat a vegetarian diet and moving away from all the stuff that you used to eat before. It was very difficult for me. And, but what I did is that I visited my doctor, and he helped me through this process. And also, I had friends who, encouraged me along the way. There was, some people that, they say, okay, I am encouraged by what you're doing, and they just give you a word of encouragement. So you say, okay, I'm feeling a little bit stronger, I'm feeling a little bit better, this is working. And so you just keep on this road. You say that it can work, and it will work. Let me just continue on this road. And so each day you find yourself a little bit stronger, a little bit, and you say, okay, I can make it. Like when I see the Olympics going on now, and people are trying hard and trying to make it, and that's how you feel. It's a little bit at a time. I didn't do it cold turkey. I did it a little at a time. And so it was not hard, to accept it and to keep on this journey.
Now, last question for you, and that is, did you find that there were any scripture in particular that really helped you along this journey, that gave you some type of positive reinforcement, or it just simply empowered you or inspired you to keep moving forward?
Yes, there were so many scriptures. I remembered when Jesus was came down. He had gone up into the mountain, and he had revealed himself to people. And he came down, and some people were asking about a person who had mental illness, and he said, "This thing comes by fasting and prayer." He mentioned food. Fasting is something to do with food, and he mentioned prayer. And so, that is how I went on this journey, by fasting and prayer. I choose to eat what is the healthiest way. I followed what I said to myself, this is how the scriptures wanted us to eat. And, I just keep fasting and praying and say, Lord, just get me through this. And if you get me through this, I'll be the best person ever. So, it's just becoming by fasting and prayer. I tell you, these was what really kept me going and going till I had, finally overcome this problem.
Well, Rose, thank you so much for coming on and not only sharing your journey and your book with us, but for reminding so many people that were thinking about stopping that transition. I think they have probably been inspired to continue with that transition. If we have some bad eating habits, to stop those bad eating habits and go on and have that fruit and vegetable that you know that you're supposed to have. I know that when I changed my diet, one of the hardest things for me was giving up bacon for breakfast on Sundays, especially. So it is difficult, but the benefits are so much better. You know, as a breast cancer survivor, you do have to learn that there are some things that you just can't do because it is not best for your body and you want to live your best life. So I tell you, Rose, thank you again for coming on and sharing with us and inspiring us and making sure that we are looking at our relationship with food in the proper way. Now, before I let you go, can you remind everyone one last time, please, what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
The title of my book is An Issue of Blood. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And my website is fancysnutritionspectrum.weebly.com. And to contact me, you can just call me. My number is 843-824-5659. I'll be willing to answer any questions you have.
I love it. Thank you again, Rose, for being a guest on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And listeners, thank you for spending some time with us here as well. We hope that we have inspired, empowered, and enlightened you today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about our guest. We are talking to Dana Burton Rodriguez today, and we are looking at her book, The Story of My Life. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on and get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Dana. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. I can't wait to talk to you about your book. I always like to talk to people when they've written a memoir about their story. But before we get to that, can you please take a moment just to introduce yourself to those few people out there that may be unfamiliar with you? So first question is, what makes you you? Tell us, who is Dana?
I am a Christian person going. I'm a mother of 7, and I love God, and I'm a big inspiration.
Now, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that life presented the opportunity and you said, yes, I have a story I need to share?
Yes, I actually had a story 4 years ago. God put it on my heart, and now last year I finally got to get it out there, and I'm very grateful and thankful.
Now, the title of your book, The Story of My Life. Why was this the appropriate title for sharing the story of your life?
Well, Dr. Angela, I actually been through a lot in my life, and I wanted to, let everybody know it's okay, to be yourself and write about yourself. Actually, God actually put it in my heart to actually, put the book out there.
I love it when people are willing to share their trials and tribulations with others. It really allows us to grow as a collective. So, bravo for being willing to share what God has gotten you through. I love it. I love it. Now, speaking of sharing your story, as far as the ideal reader is concerned, is there a particular group of folks that you feel may be more interested in others? Like, is this a really great read for women only, or will men be interested? Is it okay for our high schoolers, for example, to read, or do they need to be a little bit older, perhaps older than college age, because there's some life talk in there that wouldn't be appropriate for a younger age? Not necessarily bad words, but just heavy content. What's the ideal reader there?
I think for adults, young adults as well, men as well, to understand, my life. So, it's not that it's inappropriate. It's just this is how my life was, Doctor.
Right. I can understand that. Now, as far as reading the book is concerned, how would you say is the best way to really read the book? Many times, and I ask this question of every author that's on: should we read your book from cover to cover, literally page after page after page? Should we take it in chapter by chapter? What's the best way there?
I say read it by page, just because you'll get to know more about me and understand why.
Now, my next question for you is the inspiration. Was there a particular event that happened? Was there a particular thing that perhaps someone said to you that really made you decide, not only should I share this as a book so that others can learn from my life, but that I need to get it out right now? Was there any particular thing that prompted you to the urgency of getting it out to the world?
Yes, Dr. Angela, I've been through a lot in my life. I've been through trials and tribulations with family members, my family members. I've been through things that, you wouldn't expect it. My oldest daughter's not here, and it's a tragic, but, I take it one day at a time, and I ask God that one day she'll be able to be reunited with her mom.
Absolutely. And I think that when we really sit down and start to spend time with people, we find that people have gone through a lot in their lives. We don't necessarily share everything that has gone on in our lives just because we don't want folks in our business. But I think that most people can agree that something has happened, if not to them directly, but to someone that they know. I know that we have been, as a family, we have been affected by the sudden death of a family member due to an accident. We've also, as a family, experienced, the death of a child. We have dealt with family members that have gotten divorced. Now, even though in today's modern society, getting divorced isn't as bad as it used to be, like for my parents' generation or even my grandparents' generation, but when that happened to them, it was a really big to-do. So, you're right. There are these stories that we have to share. And I think that when we share them, we really do empower others. So thank you for mentioning that. Now, as far as deciding how you were going to put your book out there, I know that for many authors, they go through the question of, do I self-publish this? and like really control everything that goes on and make sure that no one changes my story? Or do I give it to the professionals, let them deal with it, and I would rather just pay them for the hard work and the headache, right? How did you determine which way you were going to go? So which way did you go? Did you self-publish or use a publishing house? And how did you come to that determination?
Well, Dr. Angela, as you can say, I actually went through the company, and it was tough. Times were tough, money was hard, but I went through them to actually help me, because I didn't, know which way to go. So that's why I chose to go through Zebras and let them, promote the book.
I find that many people have decided to leave it to the professionals, and there's nothing wrong with that. I tell folks, sometimes it is wise to go on and spend the money the most effectively that you possibly can. If you know what you're doing, that's one thing, but if you don't, sometimes it is expensive to learn at Life University as you take this life journey. So I definitely understand that. Now, when it comes to your overarching message that you want to get out there, and we do understand that you don't necessarily want to tell how the book ends. That's kind of one thing that I tell my listeners. No, we're not going to tell you how the book ends. But as a reader is consuming the pages and going along on the journey that you show them of your life, what is one of the overarching themes or things that you want for them to remember or take away having read your book?
I just want everybody to know that life is a learning lesson, and we all go through things and we go through challenges, and just to know that you can overcome these things, and sometimes God will just bring them back to you, the person or whoever.
Now, when you were writing your book, and I understand that when people share about their own lives, that many times they write the whole story and then they go back and edit and determine, I'm going to keep this, but I'm going to take this part out. Many times, especially from a legal point of view, you have to change the names of the people in the book to protect, people's privacy and all that good stuff. But when you were writing, and I want to ask this twofold. So the first part of the question, or one side of the coin, is, when you were writing, how did you decide which stories you were not going to write about? How was it difficult to say, this happened and I really want to share it, but I think I should not share this part? How did you make that decision?
Dr. Angela, I just wanted to share how I feel. And some parts of my life I didn't want to share, but I feel like reality, even if I did it bigger and told everything about my life, I think that it would do great. You know what I mean? Everybody goes through things, but like I said, my life was a lesson learned, and I'm grateful, and I just want everybody to learn from that.
So then, flip side of the coin, with the parts of your life that you did choose to share, would you say that it was easy to write about that part, since you were, willing to share that, or did you find that you still had some emotion there with sharing?
Sorry, Dr. Andrew. Sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't.
I do understand. Now, when it comes to writing, did you find that it was an easy process for you when you were in the middle of writing it all? I know that sometimes authors will share and say, I was writing, and whenever I was, the words would just flow, and I had a really tough time keeping up, with the thoughts coming in my head. Sometimes writers experience writer's block, and even if when they're writing about their own lives, it's making sure that you get the words down the way that you want it, or, don't over-edit or don't under-edit and all of that. What was the process like for you when you were in that stage of just writing?
Dr. Angela, I was a writer in school, so it was like I just let it come out. The words, I just let it come out. That's how I felt.
Well, it is time for us to go to break, but before we do, Dana, can you please remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
It's called The Story of My Life. It's on Amazon, and you can find me at Zebras as well.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Dana Burton Rodriguez, and we're talking about her book, The Story of My Life. My next question for you, Dana, is what makes your book different or special or unique, right? I have a lot of authors that are on, and everyone always says that their book is different than some of the others that you would find out there on the bookshelf or, on the virtual bookshelf out there. So I want to give you an opportunity to tell what makes your book different than some of the others that are out there as well.
I don't really have competition. I just am thankful that I was able to write the book. I just wanted to be, be somebody. And so I'm just grateful to be able to be an author. And, that's how I feel, Dr. Angela.
Now, speaking of being an author, there are so many aspiring authors that are out there, and to be honest, I think that many times, especially to shows like mine where we spotlight authors, they listen to get those little tips and tricks that are going to make your life a little bit easier, right? The story may not be, of course, the same, especially with yours because you're talking about your life, but people may be talking fiction or nonfiction or memoirs or sci-fi, whatever it is. People are still listening, trying to get that inspiration, but also trying to get that book life hack, right? So to make the process easier for them. With that being said, is there any piece of advice that you wish that you would have had when you were going through the process that you didn't have, that you kind of found out after the fact, that you wish you would have known when you were in the moment? Do you have any advice like that you're able to share with an aspiring author out there?
I think that just what I went through, just praying. I think every night I would pray, and that's how it got me through a lot of things. And it wasn't easy, but that's how praying and God's help to get me through the things. And sometimes it wasn't easy, and sometimes it was hard.
Now, I think that for so many people, they will find that having conversation with a person face to face can be difficult, especially if you're an introvert. You kind of like having your space, having your distance, or not having too much one-on-one time because it can totally stress you out. Unlike an extrovert that many times loves the energy of the people. Did you find that during the time of pandemic, because we weren't able to get out there and mingle with other folks and do the book expos and all of that, did you find that you became disheartened in any way? Did it put a damper on you as an author because we had to kind of slow down as a society? Or were you able to do like many music artists and still do, interviews or have events on Zoom, for example, the same way that they were doing Zoom concerts and still connecting with their audience. Were you able to adapt, or did you find that the pandemic was really kind of a bummer as an author?
I think it was kind of a bummer because like it was hard. And I deal with like anxiety and stuff, so it actually was tough and not seeing my family and friends, and now I can see them more often, but it was really, really, really hard and tough for me.
I am finding that everyone has their answer to that. When I had the opportunity to speak to, like I said, well, a lot of the authors, they were kind of unhappy when this all first started, right? Because they're so used to having the concerts and having the people in the seats and all the energy that you get. And it was like, how do I release new music if I can't go on tour, if I can't go out and about? And I found that Zoom concerts for them really was a lifesaver. But that wasn't necessarily true for so many others that are in the arts, and being an author is one of them. So yeah, I definitely understand there. Now, when it comes to your writing future, at some particular point, the pandemic will not be the topic of concern for as many folks, because we will figure out how to get COVID-19 under control. With that being said, let's fast forward a few years into the future. Do you believe that you will have released any new books within the next, let's say, 5 years or so? Or do you think that this one book kind of says it all for what you want to share?
No, I want to do a children's book, so I actually have a 13-year-old. He actually draws. His name's Devontae, and we actually want to collaborate on a kids book. Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I wish you continued successes on that. I love children's books, and I always have the creativity and the imagination there that the authors come through is just awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, Dina, thank you so much for spending time with me here today on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, and for sharing your story, and for aspiring to inspire others who read the book. Now, before I let you go, though, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
My book is a story of my life. You can get it through Amazon or Xebris.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. Thank you again for being a guest on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Thank you very much.
And listeners, thank you for spending some time with us here as well. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend it with me, and I thank you for doing so. With that being said, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.